Hey guys, so with the release of the Valencia patch as of yesterday, there's a whole new area to explore and a whole new area to level in. Now, Valencia has hands down some of the best experience in the game. Coming out here to grind your way to level 60 is definitely going to be something you want to do. Before you go ahead and grind though, there are a couple of things that you want to get set up with. To start with, you want to be aware of the hot time event that runs over the weekends and between 8 PM and 1 AM UK time, so GMT, or BST as it is at the moment with it being the summer. During this time you're going to get a bonus 50% experience, and this does stack with all other effects. So during the in-game time, or the in-game night time, when that time hits along with the hot time event, you're getting a bonus of 100% experience. It doesn't stop there though, there are other things that you can do to help make the experience gain a lot quicker. For a start, you can get 50% from either running a combat book, which you can get from the Pearl shop, or you were given for the event, which was the hit X level milestone event, or you can also use a scroll. Now combat scrolls also give 50%. The difference with these two experience buffs is that they don't link together, so you can't use a combat book and a scroll. So pick and choose which one you want to use. For most people though, a combat book is by far the most efficient. Along with that 50% bonus, you want to make sure that you've got two 10% bonus crystals in your helm. These stack, giving you a further 20%, and unlike the scrolls and the combat books, these also stack with all other experience buffs. Top that off, if you're lucky enough to get a pet with 5% combat experience, make sure you've got that pet out at all times, and also make sure you're using the 8% experience tea. There's a ton of these on the marketplace. Picking them up and making sure that you weave them into your food rotation is going to really help with your experience. If you are proactive as well, you will have some of the Black Spirit eggs left. These were received during the last event by turning in 20 of the Flanders goose eggs. These give you a further 20% bonus experience. Make sure that you are always using these whenever you're grinding for a set amount of time. Don't just throw them out if you're only going to be grinding for 10 or 15 minutes though. Make sure that you do get the full benefit from all of these buffs. But anyway, on to the places you should be grinding. So although Valencia is out, if you are around level 56, 57 or 58, what I would advise doing is not grinding Valencia. Now the reason for this is skill experience. With Awakenings coming by June, we're still not sure exactly when, but what we do know for sure is you're going to need skill points. Maxing your Awakening out as quickly as possible at around level 60 is what you want to be aiming for. However, if you do just power level in Valencia with all of these experience buffs, you're going to run into issues where you don't have enough skill experience and enough skill points. So what I'd advise doing is, now that people have moved off from one of the previous spots, I would say that grinding Sorsons is one of your best places to grind. Sorsons over here in the main spot in the garrison has a fantastic amount of mobs. This is going to give a great balance between skill experience and combat experience. It's not quite as good in terms of combat experience as the Valencia spots, however it is a fantastic place to grind. If you come here at around level 56, providing you have reasonable AP and DP, probably around 140, 150 AP is going to be good enough to start one-shotting the mobs here. This should be your priority grind spot. I would suggest staying at Sorsons until around level 57, maybe 58 if you're wanting to really stock up on those skill points. Depending on your class though, some classes fare a lot better with lower skill points than some classes that don't. So Sork, for example, is a really skill point hungry class. And come Awakening, you're going to want to make sure you have as many skill points as possible. If you don't fancy grinding the Medaya area, or if you've been grinding it for a long time and you're sick of it completely, then there are 3 predominant grind spots for experience in Valencia. These 3 spots have been and will remain to be the best experience per hour for pretty much every class in the game. Now what we're going to do is look at the first one and the easiest one to get to, and this is the Desert Naga Temple. Now the only downside to the Desert Naga Temple is the fact that once you do come out into roughly around this area where the desert starts, you will start to suffer from the 2 desert debuffs, so you'll either need purified water during the day, or you'll need star anise tea during the night. Using these 2 consumables, you're going to be able to cleanse the debuff and grind here effortlessly. Now, Desert Naga Temple in general, the mobs are a little bit weaker than the Sorcener's mobs, so if you are having no issues grinding there, Desert Naga Temple is not going to be a problem either. The beauty of this spot is it has a lot of mobs. There is huge mob density out in the actual Naga Temple itself, and if you're not wanting to venture out that far, just up this hill here is a really great grind spot. One thing to note though is that Desert Naga really is contested quite heavily, and this is because of the Seraph's Necklace drop. Grinding in Desert Naga is going to net you a reasonable amount of money, but not the best silver per hour by any stretch. However, if you are running loot scrolls or you're just pure lucky and you do get the Seraph drops, then that's going to help increase your silver per hour. So Desert Naga Temple is the first and one of the best experience spots in the game currently. Next up we have Garhar's Bandits. Now Garhar's Bandits are just next to Shaka 2. The mobs actually start as soon as you enter the canyon, and they cover this entire area. Finding a spot to grind here is going to be really easy to do, so definitely make sure you check this out. Some classes are going to have an easier time grinding Garhars than Nagas, and vice versa. Some will have an easier time with Nagas than with the Garhars mobs. So definitely make sure that you test both of them to see which is best for you. Now the main thing to note about these 2 spots is their close proximity to a town. So Shaka 2 for Garhars and the Bazaar down here for Naga Temple. This makes dropping off materials, repairing, picking up consumables really easy to do. Until we've got access to the villas, these are going to be the 2 easiest spots to grind. The 3rd spot isn't as easy, but because of this it's also going to be less contested. So the 3rd spot we're looking at is right out through the desert and over here, and this is the Desert Fogans. Now Fogans has, for as long as I can remember, been probably one of the best, if not the best, experience per hour up until around level 60. The only downside to this is that until we get access to the villas properly, we're not really going to be able to set up in this area. If you do decide to grind Fogans, what I found to be the most efficient is to run an ult over to Valencia City and sit it next to the bank. Now the reason you want to do this is because pretty much everybody in the game has access to 2 storage maids. What this will allow you to do is every 20 minutes or so, I can never remember the cooldown on maids, is transfer an item over to the storage, take it out with your ult, repair it, put it back in the storage and pull it out on your main. So when you're down at Fogans, the closest bank in proximity is going to be Valencia City. So that's one of the only ways that I've found to deal with this until we get access to the tent in the Pearl Shop. As soon as you've got the tent in the Pearl Shop, Fogans becomes one of the best grind spots, hands down, and it's really efficient. You can run your camel over here, set it up in a nice sweet spot, and just constantly stack it with all of the drops. As I've covered in my previous video, you can stack a camel infinitely like you can a horse for a single stack of items. So those are the 3 predominant grind spots. The problem with these 3 spots is they don't give great skill experience. If you're going to grind these 3 spots, you're really going to start to suffer in terms of your overall skill experience, especially if you start from around the 56-57 mark. If you do have the gear for these spots though, they will give the best combat experience, so it's a case of balancing the 2. As with Desert Nagas as well, you're going to have the benefit of the Seraph's drop over at Fogans, so if I had to choose out of the 2 spots, I would aim for the Desert Naga Temple or the Fogans area. Depending on the time of the day as well, grinding out the Desert Naga Temple gives you really easy access to Scarlet Sand Chamber, which is where the world boss Kutum spawns, and that's going to make it relatively easy to get over there, do the boss fight and get back to grinding. So there's minimal travel needed. Overall though, these spots haven't changed over the years, they still remain the best grind spots up until around level 60, and for most people they're still going to be a predominant use of experience past level 60. Once you get to the relevant AP levels that you can start one-shotting these mobs, the combat experience per hour massively skyrockets, especially if you're using those buffs. So although they're not the greatest silver per hour, if you're looking for purely combat experience, these are going to be the best 3 spots to grind. So I know a lot of this information isn't new to the BDO community, however there will be players on the Xbox version of the game that aren't sure of where to grind. As I've already pointed out multiple times, if you're looking for combat experience, pick either Garhars, Fogans or Desert Naga Temple. If you want a really solid balance, make sure you're coming over to Sorsons. It's still really good silver per hour, there are great skill points to be had here, and it's still a fantastic grind spot. Depending on where is most contested on your server, just be willing to move around if you're not looking to contest the spot and get into PvP. Once you pick up your absolute skills at 59, all of these spots become incredibly effortless and easy to grind. Just make sure that if you are going out to the Desert Naga Temple or anywhere that incurs the debuff for the desert, that you have purified water and Star Anise tears with you. That's all I've got for you today, guys. So as always, if you are new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button, give the video a thumbs up if you found the information useful, and don't forget to check out my live streams. I do tend to stream on a Tuesday and a Friday at the moment. I'm hoping to do a little bit more in the future, and there'll definitely be more videos coming soon.